Palworld is the hot new game, and I have gone on a journey trying to understand whether or not this game is a breath of fresh air that spits in the face of industry titans, created by a ragtag group of misfits that took two stale and disappointing games and fused them into the kind of game that many people have said made them love video games again. Or it's an evil AI-generated, art-stealing, plagiarizing scam that anyone who loves Pokemon should set fire to because of its blatant theft of 3D models that steals art and game mechanics and is too generic and derivative. And you should hide your kids and hide your wives because of the gratuitous violence and literal slavery. So yeah, this game is kind of a nightmare to write about. I'm scared to say anything about it. It's so hard to separate the lies from the hearsay and the crimes from the interviews. So I'm gonna do what most YouTubers have been doing and say, let's just sidestep it for right now. I'm going to tell you my opinions first, then I'm gonna tell you a story. Opinion number one, I love Palworld. It is very fun, and I hope they get to finish it. I think that Pocket Pair is a very interesting team of artists, and I have heard a lot of different stories about them and the individuals that make up the team. Most of the information in this video, I have heard through other people's videos and through the grapevine of everyone's facts. So if I get something wrong, correct me in the comments. The comments are always right. Number two, I hate Game Freak. I hate them. I think that Pokemon no longer cares about you after you turn 14. And they treat the rotating cast of 12-year-old fans like they are brain-dead infants. They don't innovate anymore, and they have no soul. I also think Nintendo sucks for deleting entire fan games weeks before they are released and screwing everyone over just so that they can release the exact same game again, but worse. And my last hot take, Aloni's hot takes. Copyright is a lie. It was created over 100 years ago to prevent the republishing of books. And as soon as it was created, it was abused and lobbied in governments across the world. And it has been used for the exact opposite purpose of it in order to limit creative expression, gatekeep creative industries, and all of it has been done so that rich assholes can make more money. And it has created a barrier that holds back the collective imagination of humanity. If I could go back in time and shoot Walt Disney in the face before he started the concept of stealing creative IPs and then making them mainstream, or if I could go even further back in time and destroy the legitimate nightmare of copyright before it ever existed, I would do it with a smile on my face, while I laughed as I fired my makeshift pistol. So this is the story of Palworld. Imagine you are a businessman, and all you really want to do is to quit your shitty job doing security for JP Morgan and a bunch of other insane things listed on your resume. You want to quit all that, and you want to make video games. But you have no idea how video games work. You don't know what an animation rig is, and you were never taught the complex hierarchy of how art theft and video game copyright work. Did you know that the creators of a Dragon Ball game copyrighted the mechanic of loading screen minigames, so no game can have a minigame in their loading screen? Which is why in every single game, loading screens are just a fucking bar, because they're not legally allowed to do it. Did you know that? Sorry, I get a little heated. This one's emotional. So you don't know how to make video games, and you are willing to spend all the money that you have, and even borrow more money, with a limitless budget, until you literally die homeless on the street. And let's say you and a few friends decide to make a game. You make a few small games at first. A game where you play as an artist using AI. And the other players have to figure out who's the Amogus imposter artist. That's a pretty cool idea. That idea will eventually be used against you, but that's a cool idea. Then you make a bigger game. That's basically a Breath of the Wild clone. Just kind of a cash grab that you don't even really finish because you're busy with your current game. Not a good sign for your record. You desperately want to make art. And you don't care how bad your games are, as long as you can afford to make another one. You don't take any of the profits for yourself, you simply pay your employees, and then take the rest of the money and make the next game. You just want to make art, and get better, and make a game that makes it all worth it. You'll even make a terrible clone if it secures your ability to keep making the hardest artistic medium there is of video games. Then, when you think this next game will have a small team and barely anyone to play it, suddenly, You get a real game designer to join you, an animation wunderkind who can save your games, who actually knows how Unreal works. And you end up finding a great artist who couldn't get hired anywhere else. They've tried to get hired all around town, including by you, and you said no, but now you're giving them a chance. And now, you have a 40-person team, all learning how to use Unreal for the first time, because Unity screwed everyone in the world over, and the new guy only knows Unreal. Most of you know nothing. The $6 million you spent is slowly running out, and you keep borrowing more money just to keep your production afloat. You are a true ragtag crew of starving artists. You look into the future of other game design tools like AI. You even created an AI imposter game long before AI was even in the public consciousness. But for now, you don't need AI for this project. It's been going since before AI art models were really that big. You have an awesome idea. Take the survival and dinosaur abusing gameplay of Ark Survival Evolved, and the style and the capture system of Pokemon Arceus, and combine them. You create a parody of Pokemon, where you can actually hit the Pokemon, where Pokemon can carry guns, and you can fight alongside them. You can automate and craft with the help of cute little animals, and you have the moral choice to choose to live on a commune and never capture humans, with a bunch of cute little friends that you feed well, that you give medicine to when they get sick, and you take care of and you love. Or, like everyone wanted out of Baldur's Gate, you can be the most evil person ever. You could create an empire of work camps where you torture innocent animals, cut them apart with a meat cleaver, and brainwash and capture human slaves. It's a pretty fun idea. It's also insane. A survival game with pocket monsters? You'd have to be crazy to make a game about Pokemon. It's never worked any of the other times when they were destroyed by Nintendo. So you get to work. You create 111 pals. Some of these ideas are purely original. Some are cute little guys. Some of them are based on existing Pokemon. Some of them were just taking two elements from different Pokemon and combining them. But allegedly, looking at the Pokemon Arceus models and recreating them by hand, that might be bad. None of the game files are copied or stolen, but out of the 40 people working for you, some of them may have cut some corners. We're not really sure. Maybe one of them even straight up created a 3D model by sculpting directly on top of a Nintendo legally copyrighted Pokemon Arceus 3D model by hand, down to the geometry. While it is illegal to steal assets, it's morally gray to recreate them from reference. According to some, tracing isn't really an art. It should be looked down upon, despite the fact that colorists and inkers draw and paint directly onto art all the time. But I do understand they have permission and you don't. But according to our team of misfits, it all seems fine. This is a small game made to keep your dreams alive. You don't really even know that much about Pokemon, so how could you even tell? Some of you know a lot about Pokemon, some of you know nothing. It's easy to let some of that stuff slide by. But the ultimate concept of the game is a parody of Pokemon. You are trying to recreate the style, and in some cases, you are making clear homages to specific Pokemon. But they're not just copying the files and throwing them in Unreal. In a lot of cases, they're paying homage to the series so that they can deconstruct and recreate the magic of Pokemon while at the same time kind of making fun of it. That's what parody is. Satire is without love. Parody is with love. Parody is when you take something that you care about a lot and you recreate it while also making fun of it. And the game is made in a new and creative way. Ultimately, I guess it's not up to us to deal with this issue. It's not up to us to dictate what is legal and not legal or right and not right. We can state our opinion, but it's going to be left up to the entirely not corrupt at all court systems that definitely are going to understand the differences between Vixie and Eevee, despite the fact that Nintendo has more money. That never changes the outcome of a case. Never. But, alleged copyright infringement aside, each and every PAL has multiple handmade animations, and the rigging and the programming for these creatures is really fucking good. It's some of the most passionate and innovative stuff I've seen in a while. Like, yeah, it's a little buggy at times, but the amount of animations that each individual PAL has is staggering. No one would do this many animations. And it's probably down to the fact that they don't really know what they're doing, so they don't know how to limit themselves artistically to the industry standards. Most industries wouldn't allow you to do all of these fun little animations because it would be too much work and it would cost too much money. But because they're funneling money and they don't care, and they just want to make the art, suddenly you get a lot of really crisp animations. There's even one guy in the group amongst the 40 workers who never went to college, and he just made gun animations on YouTube for fun. He just worked at a convenience store and occasionally would animate weapons. And the creator of the game found him and hired him because he thought they looked so good. Like, the game design of this game is incredible. The art design, passable. I mean, despite the fact that the crew never 3D modeled before, or ever even animated in Unreal, it's pretty fascinating how well it all turned out. Like, they hoped that Nintendo wouldn't destroy them, because Nintendo has destroyed dozens of fan games made with passion for free. Games that would have fixed the mistakes and added upon the works Nintendo has already made. But because of the way copyright works, Nintendo was within their legal grounds to destroy these small independent groups working for barely any money and releasing their product for free most of the time. So this crew can barely release the game. They're in early access with only 40 members. They can't work on their previous game, Craftopia. And this current game, Palworld, took all the money from their last game. And now this game is running out of money. Fast. They are desperately clinging to the seat of their pants. But suddenly, they finished an early version, and boom, it's the 5th most played game on Steam of all time. A literal miracle. They have literally beaten Elden Ring with the most concurrent players. Multiplayer Dark Souls with jumping that had never been done in a Dark Souls game was beaten by this. That's insane. No one expected this. It's a Christmas miracle. It did get popular around that, just saying. But the people who play this game, like me, the people who know what the game is actually based on when they go into the game, because at first I didn't want to play it at all, but then when I saw gameplay and I was like, oh, that's just Ark, but it's fun. I was like, hell yeah. I mean, a survival automation crafting base building game that has Pokemon in it, that's awesome. I had a blast. And I've seen multiple YouTubers say that this is the funnest game they've played this year. And yeah, it's only January, but it's still really fun. I've seen some people say that this is the reason they're playing video games again. So this crew makes so much money, like boatloads of money. Maybe even enough to fight back against our corporate overlords and set the precedent that copyright is an archaic and barbaric system used to silence and suppress creative expression. That'd be great. It's probably not going to happen, but that'd be great. Everyone's hard work was worth it. All that struggle and that pain, it's now justified. You're only crazy as a creative person until you're successful. But more than the money, you can be recognized as an actual game designer, as an actual game artist, as a real programmer. The head developer of this game quit a very high-paying job and spent $6 million to make this game, and somehow it worked. But then, as per usual, the internet doesn't know that. They don't understand subtlety. And after being burned by game after game, individuals are smart, but people are stupid. Suddenly, the Pokemon stans are upset that Game Freak has been treating them badly for years, giving them bare minimum games with barely any improvements, having hundreds of employees work tirelessly only to create mediocre garbage and price it for double what Palworld does. And they take all that anger and resentment and they displace it onto Palworld. They get mad, and these fans start to look into Palworld's history. The more people that see a project, the more eyes on a creative work, the more they look into the depths of its mistakes. They post their findings to the shittiest place on earth, Twitter, a hellish wasteland that should have deleted itself decades ago, that is slowly destroying everything. Then the YouTubers find out, and they've never been good at facts, and that's when it gets bad. Now, the game's a scam, despite them using no AI at all, and people being complete idiots not knowing how AI works and hating it just because that's what's popular. They didn't even use AI. That's the thing that makes me so mad. They didn't even use it. They made a game about how you're supposed to spot the person that is using AI. amongst the regular group, but they never once used AI in Palworld. It's ridiculous. Just because a guy who publishes a game says on an article, ooh, I think AI is an important tool and I think that maybe people should not hate it so much, doesn't mean he's going to replace all artists in the world with AI and steal your jobs and shove you in a Skynut machine. He's just a guy. He's just a little gamer guy. He's just an old Japanese businessman trying to make video games. Also, I would just like to have one more little tangent. AI is a tool. In order for AI to get good at making art, it needed to train its drawing ability. How do humans train their drawing ability? Well, they continuously draw the same things over and over again while looking at reference, usually other artists to try to understand their style, or anatomy textbooks to try to understand those. So how is someone drawing a Pokemon 7,000 times? Well, how is that different than a robot being given pictures of Pokemon to study? The only reason it's immoral is because copyright forbids you from using other people's work, but the process of learning art requires you to look at other people's work. So at what point do the lines blur? When does a data set become original? There's no real answer. But AI may one day in the future be able to remove crunch from video games. You know, the worst part of the industry? You know, the thing that these incredibly rich people are forcing artists to do where they torture themselves because they don't have enough time to make the game, and the developers want to make the game good, but the producers don't give a shit, and then they suffer and they feel pain and they quit making video games? Yeah, you see, that thing might actually be alleviated if there were a machine to do all the bullshit that rich assholes would want to do, and then the real artists can go make actual video games. But people don't really understand AI, and they never will. I can't wait till AIs start walking around and talking, and then we have robot hate crimes. I can't wait. I can't wait to cry about it. It's gonna suck. But the internet needs more ammo now, and other people start digging deep, pulling up files from the game. And this is when legitimate criticism begins, where actual game developers start looking into it and saying, oh wow, that's like way too close. I don't even know how you would get a model that close. I guess you would have to recreate it with the model underneath, which is not an industry practice. But the people who made this game have never 3D modeled before. So when people who don't know what they're doing are making a thing, they don't use the practices of the industry standards. So now they say they're stealing art. And without seeing the context and just looking at screenshots, some people even made up stuff and were just completely doctoring. There's a bunch of Pokemon fans that are just drastically saying, this one looks like this one, even when they don't look anything alike. It's so hard to tell the difference. So then they start saying that these people are monsters. And then the Twitter freaks show up, who are brain dead, and they don't understand parody or comedy or fun, because all they want to do is get mad to forget their regular daily lives. The most extreme ones start saying wild shit that isn't even real. Some of them say that it promotes slavery and that it's glorifying animal abuse. And yeah, that's the joke. Duh. That's the comedy. That's the, oh my god, I couldn't believe they made that in a video game thing. That Ark has been doing that for years and nobody gave a shit. Where you would punch a dinosaur for 20 minutes and shoot him with a crossbow, and then you would knock him out with poison berries, and then you would tame him as your own. But nobody cared then. They only care when there's a Pokemon involved. These people with profile pictures of Lucario in a thong don't like that you're making a Pokemon game. And it starts to become a full-on clusterfuck that I'm not even sure I should be talking about. This is the longest video I have ever recorded. I have written multiple versions of this script, and every single time I write something, new shit comes out, and I learn another thing from yet another video that I see. I usually don't watch videos about things that I make topics about, but I had to in this case because that's how I found out about it. And then as I played the game, I was like, well, what's going on? And then I would see each person figure out more and more information. And it's just been a nightmare. This is what it feels like to be a commentary channel, huh? I'm glad I'm not one of those. I think it's just horrible. I think all of it is horrible. I mean, people can say whatever the fuck they want. And Nintendo will definitely try to sue them out of existence. Like, that's going to happen. If they can find some sort of legal way, they will. But one incredibly important fact remains, and it's the reason I'm making this video. Palworld is fun. Yes, it is also derivative as fuck, but it's also made by amateurs. So the lines between plagiarism and parody and derisiveness, they all get kind of blurry. I have seen videos of tier lists and guess that Pokemon style challenges where people have so much trouble differentiating these two groups. And sometimes they think a Pokemon is a pal when it's actually a Pokemon, or they think a pal is a Pokemon when it's actually a pal. They are very similar because they're supposed to be, because they're a parody. But sometimes they may have crossed the line. I don't know. These lines get even blurrier when the creators don't really understand the ethical constructs of copyright and the game industry, and the statements that people are benevolently horking out from their dizzy high horses are insane. Palworld is a fun game. I played it on Game Pass for free on my Xbox. I didn't even know this game was multi-platform. I just saw it on my screen and was like, oh my god, I can try the game everyone's talking about? Hell yeah. And then I tried it and I loved it. That's what I did. The game isn't hurting you. It's not hurting Nintendo. And it's not stealing your money. It's a fucking game made by 40 people. You will never meet any of these people. Fuck off. Go complain about something else. Go talk to J.K. Rowling. You fuck. Look, I understand if someone is stealing. Like, if you are stealing directly out of artists' mouths, that's bad. But this isn't that case. When a massive corporation fucks over their consumers for 30 years, that's not an exaggeration, it's been 30 years, I don't give a shit. If someone takes corporate art and draws over it, if someone makes Fakeamon, the original Pokemon artists aren't losing any goddamn money. They don't get paid for their art anymore. They were already paid years ago. They don't get royalties. Palworld isn't replacing Pokemon artists, and the 40 real human beings desperately risking their entire lives and careers and dreams to make a piece of fucking art, a throwaway game that they shouldn't have even cared about. They aren't committing carnal sins. The righteousness off these people online is disgusting. It is intoxicatingly horrid. Game designers and artists in general are actual human beings. They are people. They're not fucking cartoons. They're people. They have struggles. And they also make mistakes. They are learning. And you know what? If it turns out that a few people on the team were complete pieces of shit and straight up stole shit, I wouldn't be surprised. If it turns out that the guy at the top is a horrible fucking Epstein bad boy, that sucks. But the fact that the world is so fucking gaslit by capitalistic copyright bullshit, and they are gatekeeping with elitist artistic bullshit, that they can't see that they are doing the bidding of their corporate overlords and maintaining the status quo. Fuck the system. This is sickening. On a daily basis, I learn more and more about the dystopia we all live in. 73 people worked on just the models from Pokemon Arceus. Palworld has 40 people to run an entire multiplayer game in 3 years. Something can be a crime, but that doesn't mean it's immoral. If you steal bread for your family and you are starving, that's not wrong, but yeah, you're gonna get arrested. You wouldn't download a car. Yes, you fucking would. And you definitely would if the other car is a broken mess that treats you like a child. When a corporate entity has more defenders than literal human beings, I make a very long video and get very mad about it. I am screaming in the middle of the night in a silent room about Arc with Pokemon. The creators of Palworld just made a great game, and now that they have the money, they might actually finish the game, and they have some really cool ideas coming up, and they might even feel secure in making another game. If Nintendo doesn't fuck them to death with a Beedrildo, because if Nintendo comes knocking on the door and destroys them, a lot of these people aren't going to get work anywhere. A lot of these people's lives are going to be ruined by this. And if they stick around and if Palworld actually makes it, it'd be a miracle. And they've already had so many miracles so far, so maybe this will happen. You know? Maybe this is the karmic justice for other games being destroyed. If they finish it, I will play it and I will have a smile on my face. If you want to attack 40 struggling artists and send death threats and pore over every single character looking for minute similarities so that you can defend a multi-billion-dollar franchise, a franchise that treats millions of people like idiots, from the bottom of my heart, sincerely, go fuck yourself. Palworld is fun, and I love it, And yes, there are a lot of legitimate criticisms, but I talk about what I love on this channel. I don't try to focus on the negative, because I think about the negative every second I'm not here. Anyway, I'm Aloni the Bard, and I have written 4 scripts about this game, and people are gonna be real mean. I am scared. Please help me. Thanks for listening. Bye. If you liked this video, check out this really old video. I made a video about the Papers, Please movie. I bet you didn't even know that existed. I bet you probably don't even know what Papers, Please is. It's a really old video. It's probably really shitty. I probably have a bad microphone and I don't have background music. But it's really good. And it's about a small group creating something fun despite all odds. See you loners later. Bye. I am so fucked. They're gonna destroy me. I'm so scared. I'm fucking so scared. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. This video, holy fuck, 43 minutes. This is podcast length. Damn, good for me.